Good afternoon. Again, this is Bob Passy. It's been a while, but as you all know, we are in a time of crisis in a lot of ways. We are being pushed by real existential threats. Our democracy gets eroded further and further every day, and our answers are being they're being labeled as radical, and they're only radical if you think that the 1950s democracy, as imperfect as it was an incredibly radical idea. That was probably one of the best times that the most democratic, I'm not talking about the Democratic Party, but that was one of the times that democracy was working most effectively, and we had an economy that worked. We were working at social justice, and there was the government was aimed at taking care of the citizens, and capitalism was healthy. It just didn't control everything, and people who worked hard were rewarded. There were unions. There was counterbalance to too much economic power in the hands of too few, and what the people wanted was reflected in their government. That's no longer true, and we all know that. All you have to do is look at the polls of what the populace wants in this country, and what's actually going on with the government. They're almost the opposite direction of everything that we care about as human beings. And part of it is we're leaving less and less room for the human spirit to thrive. In fact, we are pretty well killing it off as fast as we can. We are much more involved in doing those things that are life-denying than are life-supporting. And we need to now, we have a new millennium that is pushing us to step up and be the adult human beings that we can be. This is about the blossoming, this new millennium is about the blossoming of the human spirit, and the kind of rising of democracy finally after two millennia of trying to establish it, especially in this last millennium. Toward the end, there were real attempts and real progress made in democracy, but now the old system that believed in domination and confrontation and force and control, and that everything was about power and who got to have it, and the people, ordinary people, were simply pawns in the whole game, to be abused and to be used in every way, and not to have any of the benefits. So we have, on one hand, we're being pushed to take up the challenge of being human beings, and it's really the American spirit too, that we have a problem and we can solve it. The ordinary people can solve it. We don't need leaders to tell us how to do it or what to do. We know, our common sense will tell us that the boat is sinking and we need to do it. We don't need to go through all the channels, and we don't need permission, and we don't need to have a law passed, and we don't need any of those things. We just need to do what we need to do to support life again, support a democracy again, and move this whole nation in that direction. There are 1,000 ways you can do that, but one way is to stop feeling sorry for ourselves and stop being angry and stop being, stop focusing on the things that are not working and start putting your energy into those things that are working, and to support those people who are going in that direction. Right now we have Bernie Sanders running. Of all the candidates, he's the one that is the most frightening to the people in power. That was true in 2016, and they finally found a way to derail his incredibly popular support within the citizens of this nation, and he would have beat. Every poll that was run with him running against Trump showed he would have walked all over Trump. Instead, the Democratic Party made a disastrous gamble that gave the entire nation over to not only Trump, but the Republican Party. So he's running again, and you can see almost immediately that a whole group of people that were there for him last time around are coming right back because he represents a turn back to a democracy, to people having a voice in their government, to the government representing what's good for the citizens and how to make a healthy society, and stop focusing on just the economic part of it. What's good for the people who run the capitalist system? They got all the money, they got all the benefit, they get all the privilege, they get everything, and we come off worse and worse and worse and worse. They try to tell us that there is no system outside of that, and of course we know there is. Democracy is not a radical idea. Bernie doesn't want anything other than kind of what we had in the 1950s. That we get frightened by name calling. I mean, when I heard Trump in his State of the Union suddenly demonizing socialism, I thought, what in the world? I can't even imagine a president saying those kinds of things. That's because he is really scared of that. He's really scared of not socialism, but democracy. He's scared of democracy. He's scared that if the people begin to have a voice again, they are going to say, no, it's not okay for all the wealth and the power to be in the hands of the economic elite. It's not okay to have a Supreme Court that's controlled by money. It's not okay to have a Congress that's controlled by money. It's not okay to ignore the needs of the people. It is time to begin to take that back. And Bernie's candidacy is exactly that. Is exactly that. Now, am I suggesting only go out there and work for Bernie? No, that's a good thing to do, but we need to do much more. We need to support all those other people who are doing positive things. We have to get off this negative kick. Forget about Trump. Just go do good things. He's not going to, if he loses attention, he will die. If we just stopped listening to him, he wouldn't know what to do. He thrives on that, the negative as well as the positive. We have so many better things to put our energy into besides being against things and against Trump. Let's do 4 things. Let's work on people who are finding positive answers and positive solutions and positive alternatives. That's our way out. That's the human way. That's the way that the heart can thrive again. That's the way the human spirit can thrive again. And that's the way that we can begin to move this society. We don't have to know exactly where it's all going to end up. We never know. Life is like that. We just have to know that we put our energy into this positive thing. We can make it. We can improve it. We can make it better. We can change the direction. You have to remember, they've spent years trying to convince us, well, first of all, that there's no reality we can count on, which is the reality of people and your own experience is the reality. It's not the things in your cell phone and on the screens. It's the reality that you live with every day, the people, the experiences you have, the ways that you can influence things. You know when you positively influence somebody. You can see it in their eyes. You can feel it. And that's what we have to go back to. And we have to be the adults in the room. We have to forego all that other petty stuff, and we have to start being serious about this. Because the other push, while we need to take ourselves back toward a democracy again if we want to survive, we also have to be aware that coming in the other direction is this this rushing reality, I didn't say Russian, I said rushing. And we have to know that it's coming faster and faster than we think, and that is the destructiveness of the climate change that we are allowing to continue. So we have to get this straightened out. We can't eventually get there. The eventually is over. It's now. It's going to overwhelm us if we don't begin to act. And so is there some big solution? Is there some one thing that you can support? No, it's 1,000 little things. It's just like you don't need one big leader to tell you what to do. You need to call up your own energy. See, if we call up our own energy, we will overwhelm the 1%ers. They just have convinced us that our energy doesn't mean anything, and we've bought it. Well, we have to now say, no, it's time for us to stand up. It's time for us to act. It's time for a grassroots citizens movement based on or unified by democracy, the idea of democracy. We need an idea as a central thing, not necessarily a leader. Leaders will come, and I think Bernie is one of those, but leaders will come. It isn't about the leaders. It's about the ideas. And about the ideas that will call up our own energy, that will overwhelm anything that wants to stand in our way. Anyway, something for you to think about. We'll talk again soon. Bye now.